On a forgotten moon orbiting a dying star, Lila Cross worked alone in a crumbling med station that had once been a mining outpost. The walls leaked cold air, the lights flickered like dying fireflies, and the only sound was the hum of an overworked oxygen recycler. Outside, dust storms howled across gray plains, burying old machinery and broken dreams under layers of ash. This place was called Varel 7, a name no one cared about anymore. It sat far from trade lanes, far from war zones, far from anything that mattered. But lately, refugees had started arriving, scarred, silent people fleeing battles they never named. Lila treated them as best she could with torn bandages, expired meds, and stubborn hope. She was small, with tired eyes and hands that never stopped moving. Her dark hair was always tied back, strands escaping to stick to her forehead from sweat. She wore a patched med uniform 2 sizes too big, and her boots had holes near the toes. But she never complained. She'd left Earth years ago, chasing rumors of purpose beyond crowded cities and endless debt. Out here, at the edge of known space, she found it. Not in glory, but in quiet acts. A fever cooled, a wound stitched, a child breathing easier. That was enough. One night, just past the 3rd watch, the ground shook. Not from wind, but from something heavy striking the surface. Lila froze, listening. The station's sensors were mostly dead, but the old seismic reader on the wall blinked red. Impact. Less than 2 clicks east. She grabbed her emergency pack, a hand lamp, and her sidearm, a small stun pistol she'd never fired. She didn't expect trouble. Trouble didn't come to Varel 7. It passed by like everything else. The storm had calmed, leaving the air sharp and still. Stars glittered above, cold and distant. Lila trudged through the dust, boots crunching on frozen grit. Her lamp cut a narrow cone through the dark. Then she saw it, a crater still steaming. At its center lay a shape unlike anything she'd seen. It was large, longer than a ground car, covered in scales that shimmered even in dim light. Silver, yes, but also hints of blue and violet, like oil on water. One wing was bent at a wrong angle, torn near the joint. Smoke curled from a gash along its side, and its breath came in shallow, wet rasps. Lila approached slowly, heart pounding. It wasn't mechanical. It was alive. Very much alive and very much dying. She recognized no species in her database. No reptile, no avian, no known alien fauna matched this. Its head was sleek, with ridges above deep-set eyes now closed. Horns curled back from its skull, smooth and sharp. Along its spine, faint pulses of light traveled like slow heartbeats. She knelt beside it, ignoring protocol, ignoring the voice in her head that said, "Leave it, report it, wait for authorities." There were no authorities here, only her, and this creature, bleeding out under alien stars. Back at the station, she cleared her main treatment room, dragging cots aside, hooking up every power cell she had. Getting the creature inside took hours. It weighed more than it looked, dense and heavy. She used a repulsor sled from the storage bay, jury-rigged with spare parts. By the time she laid it on the reinforced table, her arms ached and her shirt was soaked. First, she stopped the bleeding. The wound wasn't from shrapnel. It was plasma burn, clean-edged but deep, cauterized at the edges but still oozing a thick, opalescent fluid. She cleaned it with saline, then used a biosealant meant for human tissue. It hissed on contact, but the creature didn't flinch. Its skin was cool to the touch, not cold, not warm, just different. Next, the wing. The bone was fractured in 2 places. She splinted it with carbon fiber strips from an old drone frame, wrapping it gently in thermal mesh. She didn't know if it would heal right, but it was better than nothing. Through the night, she monitored its vitals. No heartbeat like a human's. Instead, a slow triple pulse she detected with a modified scanner. Respiration was minimal, almost hibernation-like. She kept the room warm, humid, and dark, guessing from the creature's smooth skin and lack of fur that it preferred stable conditions. Dawn came as a pale gray smear on the eastern horizon. Lila hadn't slept. She sat on a stool beside the table, sipping cold nutrient broth, eyes fixed on the creature's chest. Then, without warning, its eyes opened. They were golden, deep liquid gold like honey lit from within. They held intelligence, fear, and something else. Recognition. It didn't thrash or snarl. It just looked at her, breathing slowly, steadily now. A low hum began in its chest, soft and resonant, vibrating through the metal floor. Lila felt it in her bones. She spoke softly, not expecting understanding. "You're safe now. I'm Lila. You're on Varel 7. No one's coming for you but me." The creature blinked once, Then its head tilted slightly as if listening. The hum deepened, becoming almost melodic. Lila reached out, hesitated, then gently touched its snout. The scales were smooth, warm now, and the hum softened further. Hours passed. She gave it fluids through a tube inserted carefully into a vein-like structure in its neck. It accepted it without resistance. She checked the wound, already less swollen. The biosealant was holding. She couldn't explain it. Human medicine shouldn't work on something so alien. But it did. By midday, the creature tried to rise. Lila gently held it down. Not yet. Your wing's broken. You need rest. It settled again, but its eyes never left her. It watched her every move, when she cleaned instruments, when she ate a ration bar, when she checked the comms, still silent. It seemed to study her, not with suspicion, but curiosity. That evening, as the twin moons rose, Lila sat beside it again. She was exhausted but couldn't sleep. Something about this creature pulled at her. It wasn't just its beauty or strangeness. It was the quiet dignity in its gaze, the way it endured pain without sound. She wondered who it belonged to, or if it was alone. She didn't know it yet, but she'd made a choice that would echo across the galaxy. Saving this creature wasn't just an act of kindness. It was a spark in a darkening war. And somewhere far beyond the rim, a throne sat empty, waiting. The creature's name was Kalen, but Lila didn't know that. Not yet. All she knew was that it was alive because of her. And that for now was enough. Outside, the wind picked up again, howling through the ruins. But inside the med station, there was only the soft hum of a dragon breathing, and the quiet presence of a human who refused to look away. 3 days passed in quiet rhythm. Lila changed Kalen's bandages twice a day, adjusted the splint on its wing, and fed it a nutrient slurry she'd mixed from emergency rations and filtered moon moss. The creature grew stronger. It could lift its head now, turn to watch her move around the room, and even take small steps with her support. The golden eyes never lost their calm intensity, and the hum it made had become a constant, soothing presence in the station. Lila found herself talking to it, about Earth, about why she left, about the silence of deep space. Kalen listened as if it understood every word. On the 4th morning, everything changed. The sky darkened without warning, not from storm clouds, but from something descending fast and silent. Lila rushed to the cracked viewport just in time to see it. A ship, black as void, shaped like a blade. It made no sound as it landed half a kilometer from the station, crushing rock and dust beneath its landing struts. No lights, no comms hail. Just stillness. Her heart hammered. She'd never seen a vessel like it. Smooth, seamless, with no visible engines or ports. It looked grown, not built. And it radiated power, the kind that made the air feel heavy. Before she could react, figures emerged. Tall, armored, and obsidian plates that absorbed light. They moved in perfect unison. No chatter, no hesitation. They formed a line from the ship to the station's main gate, standing like statues. Lila counted 12. All armed, all silent. Then she stepped out. Taller than the others, draped in flowing robes that shifted color like oil on water. Violet, silver, deep blue. She moved with impossible grace. Her skin was pale, almost luminous, and her ears tapered to fine points. Long white hair fell past her waist untouched by the wind. Her eyes glowed faintly, violet like distant nebulae. She wore no helmet, no weapon, yet every soldier bowed their head as she passed. Lila knew who she was before the name even formed in her mind. This was Naira, Empress of the Silthari Dominion, the most feared ruler in the galaxy. Stories said she'd shattered rebel fleets with a thought that her wrath could boil oceans, that she never showed mercy, and now she stood outside a broken med station on a dead moon. Lila didn't run. She couldn't. Instead, she straightened her uniform, wiped her hands on her pants, and opened the outer airlock. The Empress walked in alone. Her guards remained outside, unmoving. The moment she crossed the threshold, the temperature in the room seemed to drop, not from cold, but from presence. Power. Lila felt it like pressure on her skin. Naira's eyes swept the room, landing instantly on Kalen. The dragon rose to its feet, weak but proud. It let out a soft chime, not a growl, not a threat. Recognition. Relief. Naira's face, unreadable until now, softened, just slightly. She knelt beside Kalen, placing a hand on its snout. A low murmur escaped her lips, words in a language that sounded like wind through crystal trees, soft and ancient. Kalen leaned into her touch, humming louder, the golden light in its eyes brightening. Lila stood back, silent, watching. She expected anger, punishment for touching what wasn't hers, for interfering with something beyond her understanding. But Nira didn't look at her. Not yet. After a long moment, the Empress turned. Her violet eyes locked onto Leela. They held no fury, no judgment, only deep searching curiosity. "You saved him," she said. Her voice was calm, melodic, but carried weight like stone. Lila nodded. "He was dying. I couldn't leave him." "You are human." It wasn't a question. "Yes. Humans do not heal Silthari dragons. They fear them. They hunt them for their scales, their blood, their fire." "I'm not like that," Lila said quietly. Nira studied her. Not just her face, but her hands, her stance, the wear on her boots. "You used human medicine, crude, inefficient, yet it worked. I used what I had. And I listened. He told me what he needed, not with words, but with feeling." That surprised the Empress. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "You felt his need?" "Yes." A long silence filled the room. Outside, the wind stilled as if holding its breath. Then Nira stood. "My sky dragon, Kalen, was poisoned. Not by blade or blast, but by betrayal. A bioweapon forged in human labs smuggled into my court. It weakened his life flame, made him vulnerable. His ship failed. He crashed here." Lila's stomach tightened. "Human labs. Do not take blame for what you did not do," Nira said, reading her thoughts. "You are not your kind. I see that now." She walked slowly around the room, touching nothing, observing everything. The patched walls, the handmade tools, the ration wrappers neatly stacked. "You live alone. You help strangers. You save enemies without knowing who they are." "I save lives," Lila said. "That's all." Nira stopped before her. "Why?" "Because someone has to." The Empress was silent for a long time. Then unexpectedly she sat on a crate near the med table. "I will stay," Lila blinked. "Here, for now. Kalen is not strong enough to return, and I wish to understand you." Over the next 2 days, Nira did not command. She observed. She watched Lila work, asked quiet questions about human biology, about Earth, about why a medic would choose exile over comfort. Lila answered honestly. In return, Nira spoke of the Silthari, how they were once star singers, how their bond with dragons was older than galaxies, how that bond was now fraying. "The Dominion is breaking," she admitted one evening as Kalen slept curled near the heater. "Not from outside war, but from within. My generals whisper. My council lies. They say the old ways are weak, that we must conquer, not protect. And the dragon," Lila said. "Kalen is more than a pet. He is my soul's echo. When he weakens, so do I. When he falls, the Dominion falls. The rebels know this. That is why they struck him." Lila thought of the plasma wound, the strange fluid, the way Kalen had clung to life. "They wanted you vulnerable." "Yes, but you're here. Not hiding. Not hiding behind walls." Nira's lips curved just slightly. "Fear hides. I do not." On the third night, alarms blared. Not from the station. Its systems were too old, but from Nira's wristband. She stood instantly, eyes sharp. "They found us, the traitor. General Vorlan. He leads the rebellion now. He thinks Kalen is dead. If he sees him alive, he will bring fire." Leela's blood ran cold. "What do we do?" "We leave. Now." But Kalen could not fly. Not yet. His wing was healing, but not strong enough for atmospheric lift, let alone space travel. Nira looked at Lila. "You kept him alive with human tools. Can you make him fly?" Lila thought fast. "Not fully. But I can stabilize him. Give him enough strength for a short jump. If we have a ship, I have a scout vessel, fast, hidden in the canyon. Then we go." They worked through the night. Lila mixed a stimulant from adrenaline analogs and Silthari biogel Nira provided. She reinforced the wing splint with carbon weave, added thermal wraps to boost circulation. Kalen endured it all, eyes trusting. As dawn neared, they moved. Lila carried her med kit. Nira carried nothing but a small crystal pendant. They slipped out the back, avoiding the main path. The black ship was gone. Nira had recalled it remotely. In its place, a sleek scout craft waited in a dry riverbed, camouflaged under a light-bending cloak. They loaded Kalen carefully into the rear compartment. He filled most of it, curling tight, breathing slow. Inside the cockpit, Nira took the pilot seat. Lila sat beside her. The controls glowed with soft glyphs, unfamiliar but intuitive. "You trust me to fly this," Nira said, not looking at her. "I trust you to keep us alive." The ship lifted silently, hovering just above the dust. Then with a whisper of energy it shot upward, punching through the thin atmosphere and into the star-strewn black. Below, Varel 7 shrank to a gray speck. Behind them 3 red dots appeared on the scanner, enemy ships closing fast. "They tracked us," Layla said. "They always do," Nira replied, her voice calm. She tapped a sequence. The ship folded space around them, vanishing into a micro-jump. When they reappeared, stars had shifted. They were safe. For now. In the quiet hum of the engine, Lila looked at the Empress. "Where are we going?" "To HFY Spire. The only place Kalen can fully heal. The only place the bond can be restored. And if we don't make it..." Naira met her gaze. "Then the galaxy burns." Lila didn't flinch. "Then we make it." The Empress almost smiled. Almost. Outside, the stars watched. Silent. Waiting. The scout ship drifted through a sea of dead stars, its engines running cool to avoid detection. Inside, the air was still, thick with the scent of ozone and something faintly floral. Naira's presence left a trace like blooming night vines. Kalen lay in the rear compartment, wrapped in thermal blankets Lila had stitched from emergency foil. His breathing was steady but shallow. Every few minutes, a soft pulse of light traveled down his spine, dimmer than before. Lila sat beside him, monitoring his vitals on a small handheld scanner she'd rewired to read Silthari biosigns. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. His triple pulse rhythm was slowing. Not dangerously, but enough to worry her. "He's fading again," she said, not looking up. Naira, at the controls, didn't turn. "The poison lingers. It feeds on his life flame. Only HFY Spire can burn it out." "How far?" 3 jumps. 2 days if we avoid patrols." Lila nodded. She adjusted the fluid line feeding into Kalen's neck. A mix of electrolytes, Silthari nectar from Naira's stores, and a human stimulant she'd diluted carefully. Too much would shock his system. Too little, and he'd slip into stasis, maybe never wake. As the hours passed, Naira began to speak. Not in commands, not in riddles, but in stories. Quiet, measured words about a time before war. When Silthari dragons soared between stars not as weapons, but as guides. She spoke of the bond. How each Empress was chosen not by blood, but by the dragon itself. How Kalen had come to her as a hatchling, drawn to her loneliness after her parents were lost in the Void Wars. "I was 7, Nira said, her voice softer than Lila had ever heard it. "He fit in my hands. I fed him starlight moss and sang him old lullabies. He never left my side." Lila looked at her. "You love him. He is my heart outside my body. To lose him is to lose myself." In that moment, Lila saw past the armor, past the title, past the fear the galaxy held for this woman. She saw grief, duty, love, things she understood. On the second day, the ship's sensors pinged, faint but clear. A patrol. Silthari markings but flying rebel colors. Black banners with a broken horn symbol. "Vorland's hunters," Naira said, fingers tightening on the controls. "They've upgraded their scanners. They can smell dragon essence now. Can we hide? Not for long. We must jump early. But the next corridor is unstable. Radiation pockets, temporal drift. Then we go through it," Lila said. Naira glanced at her. "You do not fear death? I fear failing. That's worse." The jump was rough. The ship shuddered as it tore through folded space, alarms blaring in silent flashes. Naira had muted them to preserve stealth. Outside the viewport, reality twisted. Stars stretched into lines. Time stuttered. Lila felt her bones ache, her vision blur. Kalen let out a low, pained hum. Then they were through. The ship coasted into a graveyard of dead vessels, hundreds of them floating in silent orbit around a collapsed star. Hulls rusted, weapons melted, flags long gone. This was the Silence Belt, a place no sane pilot entered. Too many ghosts. Too many traps. "Why here?" Lila asked. "Because even rebels fear ghosts," Nira replied. "And because my mother hid a cache here. Supplies, weapons, a backup core for Kalen." They docked with a derelict freighter, its name long erased by cosmic dust. Inside, the air was stale but breathable. Naira moved with certainty through dark corridors, leading Lila to a sealed chamber behind a false wall. Inside, a crystal case glowed softly. Within it rested a heart-shaped stone pulsing with slow blue light. "The Ember Core," Naira whispered. "Last of its kind. It holds the memory of ancient dragons. If Kalen touches it, it may give him strength." Back on the ship, she placed the core beside Kalen. The moment it neared, his eyes opened. Golden light flared. the core responded, glowing brighter. A thread of energy, thin as spider silk, connected them. For the first time in days, Kalen stood on his own. Shaky but standing, he lowered his head to the core and a deep, resonant tone filled the cabin. The sound was old, older than planets. Lila watched, breath held. Is it working? Yes, Naira said, awe in her voice. He is remembering who he is. But their moment of hope was short. A proximity alert flashed red. Not one ship. 5. Emerging from the debris field. They followed the energy surge, Naira said, already powering up the engines. Forlan knew about the cache. The scout ship shot forward, weaving through wrecks. Behind them, plasma bolts lit the dark, vaporizing ancient metal. Lila strapped in, heart pounding. Kalen curled tight, the ember core clutched in his claws. We can't outrun them, Lila said. We do not need to, Naira replied. She input a command. The ship's outer skin rippled, then shifted color, mimicking the rust and decay of the graveyard. Active camouflage, they drifted behind a shattered cruiser. Engines off, lights dead. The rebel ship swept past, scanning, firing at shadows. One hovered close, so close Lila could see the pilot's face through the viewport. Silthari, but with cybernetic eyes, cold and red. Then, a voice crackled over an open channel. Deep, harsh Empress. We know you are here. Surrender the dragon. Your human pet may live. Naira's face hardened. She did not respond. Lila's hands clenched. They called me your pet. They see humans as animals, Naira said. They do not know you. Then let them learn. Before Naira could stop her, Lila activated the comms. This is Lila Cross, human medic. If you want the dragon, come take him. But know this, he breathes because I willed it. And I will unmake him before I let you use him as a weapon. Silence. Then laughter. Cruel. Mocking. Brave words from a flea, the voice sneered. We will peel your skin slowly, human. Make the Empress watch. The rebel ship turned, scanning again. But the camouflage held. After minutes that felt like hours, they moved on. When they were gone, Naira looked at Lila with something new in her eyes. Respect. Maybe even gratitude. You should not have spoken, she said. It marks you. I'm already marked, Lila replied. By him. She nodded to Kalen, who now watched her with deep, knowing eyes as they prepared for the final jump. Naira revealed the truth Lila had sensed but never heard aloud. The rebels have human allies, she said, not governments. Shadow groups. They trade bioweapons for Silthari tech. The poison that struck Kalen. It was designed in a lab on Mars Colony 7. Coded to target dragon DNA but keyed to human delivery systems. Lila felt sick. My people did this, not you, but yes. Your species is fractured like mine. Some seek peace. Others seek power. Then we stop them, together. Nira studied her. Why help me? I am your enemy by every law of your kind. You're not my enemy. You're someone who lost something precious. And I know what that feels like. The Empress was silent a long time. Then she placed a hand on Lila's shoulder. Light pressure, but it carried weight. When this is over, you will not be forgotten. The final jump took them to the edge of the Ashfall system. Ahead loomed a planet wrapped in perpetual storm. Black clouds swirling around a single mountain that pierced the sky like a spear. Ashfall Spire, home of the first dragons. But between them and safety, a fleet waited, not 5 ships, 50. And at its center, a dreadnought bearing the broken horn banner, General Vorlin himself. He knew we would come here, Lila said. He wants the spire, Nira replied, to claim the dragon roost for himself, to break the bond forever. Can we fight? Not head on. But we do not need to win the war. Only reach the spire, she turned to Kalen. Are you ready, my heart? The dragon stepped forward, wings spreading, still bandaged but strong. He touched the ember core one last time, then let it fall. It shattered, its light absorbed into his scales. He was ready. As the scout ship plunged toward the storm, Lila held her breath. Behind them, the fleet gave chase. Lightning cracked across the sky. Wind screamed. And ahead, the spire called. The war was coming, but so was hope. The scout ship tore through the storm like a blade through smoke. Lightning flashed around it, purple and white, striking the hull but not breaking it. Inside, the air crackled with static. Lila gripped her seat, eyes fixed on the viewport. Ahead, the spire rose. Black stone wrapped in spirals of glowing moss, its peak lost in the clouds. It pulsed with a slow, deep rhythm like a sleeping heart. Kalen stood in the rear, wings half spread, golden eyes locked on the mountain. He hummed low and steady, matching the spire's beat. Naira flew with fierce focus, hands dancing over controls that responded to thought as much as touch. "The spire knows him," she said. "It will open a path." But the fleet was closing. Plasma fire lit the clouds behind them, turning rain to steam. The dreadnought led the charge, massive and jagged, its hull scarred from old wars. "They're jamming our signals," Lila said, watching the comms panel flicker out. "They do not need signals," Naira replied. Vorlan can feel Kalen's presence. The bond he tried to break still echoes. Suddenly the ship lurched. An explosion rocked the port side. Alarms flashed silently. Smoke curled from a console. "Shields gone," Naira said. "We have one chance. The rift. The what? A tear in the storm. Only dragons can fly it. But Kalen is not whole." Lila looked at the dragon. "He was strong, but not strong enough. Not yet." "Then we make him strong enough," she said. She unbuckled, moving fast. From her med kit, she pulled the last vial of concentrated stimulant, meant for emergency human use, powerful enough to restart a stopped heart. Too much would burn out his system. But there was no time for caution. "Hold him still," she told Naira. The Empress placed a hand on Kalen's neck. The dragon stilled instantly, trusting. Lila injected the fluid into a vein near his jaw. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Kalen arched, light bursting from his scales. His hum became a roar, not of pain, but power. Golden fire swirled in his eyes. "It's working," Lila whispered. "Too well," Naira said, concern in her voice. "His life flame burns hot. If it peaks too soon, he will fade after. Then we get him to the spire before it peaks." Naira nodded. She opened the rear hatch. Wind howled in, rain stinging their faces. "You must ride him." Lila stared. "Me? He trusts you. Your presence will steady him. I will draw their fire." Before Lila could argue, Naira helped her onto Kalen's back. The dragon's scales were warm, vibrating with energy. She held tight to the ridges behind his neck. "Fly true," Naira said, her voice soft but firm. Kalen leapt into the storm. The world became chaos. Wind screamed. Lightning struck nearby, blinding white. Below, the ocean boiled. Above, enemy ships circled like vultures. But Kalen flew straight, wings beating with renewed strength, heading for a narrow canyon in the spire's base, where the rift waited. Lila clung on, heart racing. She could feel Kalen's pulse through her legs, fast and fierce. The stimulant was pushing him beyond his limits. She whispered to him words of calm, of home, of safety, and somehow he listened. Behind them, the scout ship turned, firing its last missiles at the dreadnought. Explosions bloomed in the dark. Nira was buying them time. The rift appeared, a vertical tear in the air, shimmering like heat haze. It hummed with ancient power. Kalen did not hesitate. He dove into it. Inside, time bent. Colors twisted. Lila saw flashes. Earth as a child. Varel 7 at dawn, Naira's violet eyes in the dark. Memories not her own. Dragon memories. Starflight. Fire song. Loss. Then they were through. The canyon opened into a vast chamber inside the mountain. Walls glowed with bioluminescent vines. Water fell from high above, pooling in a lake of liquid light at the center. This was the renewal pool, the heart of HFY Spire. Kalen landed gently on the shore, trembling. The stimulant's effect was fading. His light dimmed. Lila slid off, immediately checking his vitals. His pulse was weak again. "He needs the pool. Now." But before they could move, the canyon entrance exploded. Rock and fire filled the air. From the smoke stepped General Vorlan. He was tall, armored in black metal fused to his skin, one eye replaced with a red scanner. Scars crossed his face, old and deep. Behind him came a dozen elite warriors, weapons drawn. "Empress," he called, though Naira was not there. "You sent your pet to die for you." Lila stood between him and Kalen. "She's coming. And you won't be ready." Vorlan laughed. "A human speaks defiance. How quaint." He raised a hand. "Kill the dragon. Bring me its heart." The warriors advanced. Lila had no weapon, no armor, only her medkit and her will. But Kalen rose one last time. He stepped in front of her, wings flared, even if they shook. A low growl rumbled in his chest, not fear but warning. Vorlan's smile vanished. "You are weak, beast. The poison is won." "Not yet," Lila said. She remembered something Naira had told her. About resonance, how Siltheri tech responded to harmony. not force, and how human bioelectric fields, though crude, could sometimes sync with it. She grabbed the last power cell from her kit, a small, high-output unit used for surgical tools. She jammed it into the ground near the pool, then connected it to a Scifi crystal she'd taken from the scout ship. It was a gamble. "Kalen," she said, "sing with me." She placed her hands on his neck, closed her eyes, and thought of life, of healing, of every wound she'd ever closed, every breath she'd fought to save. Kalen hummed, softly at first, then stronger. The crystal glowed. The pool rippled. Energy surged through the chamber. Vorlan's warriors froze. Their cybernetics sparked. Weapons shorted out. "What is this?" Vorlan snarled. "Life," Lila said. "Something you forgot." The pool erupted in light. Not fire, but pure energy, golden, warm, alive. It wrapped around Kalen, lifting him into the air. His wounds sealed. His wings straightened. His eyes blazed like twin suns. The renewal had begun. Vorlan roared, drawing a plasma blade. "No, I will not lose this," he charged, but before he reached them, a shadow fell over the canyon. The scout ship, battered and smoking, crashed through the entrance, skidding to a halt between Lila and the general. The hatch opened. Naira stepped out, robes torn, face streaked with soot, but eyes burning with cold fire. "You dare set foot in this sacred place, traitor," she said. "You are weak, Naira," Vorlan spat. "You hide behind humans and dying beasts. I do not hide. I protect. Something you never understood." He lunged. Naira met him blade to blade. Their fight was silent, fast, deadly. Sparks flew. Stone cracked under their feet. Lila watched, ready to act. But Kalen's renewal demanded her attention. The dragon floated in the pool, light pouring into him. The chamber trembled. Outside, thunder answered. Then, with a sound like 1,000 stars being born, Kalen rose. Fully healed. Fully awake. Fully wrathful. His roar shook the mountain. Fire, not red but white gold, blasted from his maw, not at Vorlan but at the ceiling. Stone shattered. Daylight poured in. The rebels fell to their knees, not from fear, but from the weight of the dragon's presence. Their minds could not bear it. Vorlan staggered back, blade broken. Impossible. Naira stood over him. "The bond is not broken. It was never yours to break." She did not kill him. She let the spire take him. Vines shot from the walls, wrapping him in living chains. He screamed, then was silent. Kalen landed beside Lila, nuzzling her gently. His hum was calm now. "Whole." Naira approached, placing a hand on Lila's shoulder. "You did this." "We did," Lila said. Above, the storm cleared. Stars returned. The war was not over, but the tide had turned. Dawn broke over Ashfall Spire, not with soft light, but with a golden blaze that spilled through the shattered canyon roof. The storm had passed. The air smelled of ozone, whetstone, and something older, like starlight given form. Kalen stood at the edge of the renewal pool, wings spread wide, scales shimmering with renewed power. His golden eyes scanned the sky, not in fear, but in watchfulness. He was whole again. More than whole. The ritual had deepened his bond with the spire, with Naira, and with something new, with Lila. Naira stood beside him, her robes still torn, but her posture regal once more. She had not slept. None of them had. But exhaustion had been burned away by what happened in the chamber. The rebels were gone. Some dead, some bound by the spire's living vines, others fled into the void. General Vorlan remained trapped in the heart of the mountain, his mind slowly unraveled by the dragon's presence, justice Scifi style. Lila sat on a smooth rock near the pool, her medkit open beside her. Her hands were clean now, but they still trembled slightly, not from fear, but from awe. She had seen a dragon reborn. She had stood against a warlord. She had changed the course of an empire, and she was still just a human medic with patched boots and tired eyes. Naira turned to her. "You saved him twice," she said. "First with your hands, then with your heart." Lila looked up. "I just did what felt right. That is rare. Rarer than power, rarer than fire." Before Lila could respond, the ground trembled, not from danger but from arrival. From the sky, ships descended, not black hunters, but silver cruisers bearing the true Scifi sigil. A dragon coiled around a star. Loyalists. They had followed the Empress's last signal, drawn by the surge of power from the spire. They landed in silence. Soldiers poured out, not in armor of war, but in ceremonial robes of silver and violet. They formed lines, bowed low, and waited. Naira did not move toward them. Instead, she walked to Lila and knelt before her. The gesture stunned the newcomers, and Empress did not kneel. Not to anyone. From her neck, Naira removed a circlet, thin, woven from star metal and dragon scale, glowing faintly with inner light. It was the crown of the Dominion, worn only by those chosen by both dragon and spire. She placed it gently in Lila's hands. "You saved more than a creature," Naira said, voice clear and strong. "You saved my heart. You stood when others would have fled. You healed when others would have feared." "You are kin." Lila stared at the circlet. It was warm, alive. "I'm human. I don't belong in your world. You made yourself belong," Naira replied, "and the spire agrees." As if in answer, the vines on the walls pulsed with soft light. The pool rippled. Kalen stepped forward and touched his snout to Lila's shoulder, a gesture of bond, of family. The Silthari soldiers watched in silence. No one spoke. No one doubted. From that moment, Leela Cross was no longer just a medic. She was honored kin, the first human in 10,000 years to be named so by the Silthari Empress, a title with no equal in the galaxy. In the days that followed, the Loyalist fleet secured the system. Scouts were sent to hunt down the last rebel cells. Messages flew across the Dominion. Naira Vey lived. Kalen soared, and a human stood beside them. Lila did not ask for power. She asked for one thing, that human colonies be spared from Silthari retaliation, that the shadow groups who made the bioweapon be hunted not by fleets but by truth. Nira agreed. Justice, not vengeance. Before they left Ashfall Spire, Lila stood once more at the pool's edge. Kalen lay beside her, resting after his renewal. Naira joined her, looking out at the stars. "Where will you go?" Naira asked. "Wherever I'm needed," Lila said. "Maybe back to the frontier. Maybe with you. You are welcome always." They boarded the lead cruiser together, not as prisoner and ruler, but as sisters. The ship lifted into the sky, Kalen flying beside it, his wings casting shadows on the clouds below. As they entered orbit, Lila looked down at Varel 7, now a pale dot in the distance. She thought of the broken station, the quiet nights, the moment she chose to drag a dying creature inside. That choice had seemed small then. Now it echoed across 1,000 worlds. The galaxy would never be the same. The Silthari Dominion, once feared for its cold wrath, now carried a new symbol. A human hand healing a dragon's wing. Rumors spread, hope grew. Even among humans, stories changed. The Empress was no longer a monster. She was a protector, and she had a sister who bled for strangers. Months later, on a newly built med station orbiting a peaceful colony world, Lila treated a Silthari child with a fever. The child's mother watched, eyes wide with gratitude. Outside the viewport, Kalen circled lazily, sun glinting off his scales. Naira stood nearby, arms crossed, but smiling. Lila finished her work, handed the child a small charm made of woven wire and crystal, a human Silthari blend, and said, "Rest now. You're safe." As the mother led the child away, Nira spoke. "They call you the dragon's healer now." Lila shrugged. "I'm just a medic." "No," Nira said softly. "You are the spark that reminded us what we lost. Compassion, trust, the belief that even the smallest act can change everything." Lila looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, another refugee ship drifted. Another wound waited. Another choice loomed, and she would be ready, because the galaxy's most feared Empress now had a human sister, and a dragon who would burn worlds for her. But more than that, a healer who proved that kindness, not fire, was the truest weapon of all.